Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Want to Know podcast. I'm Lexi Linderman.
I'm Lala Allenstein.
And I'm Avery Hill.
Today, we're going to be previewing Penn State's upcoming matchup against Illinois, including giving our predictions. We're going to be talking a little bit about what the players had to say about the 94 team being in town, and we're going to touch a little bit on some injuries and linebacker depth. So to start it all off, what are you guys kind of looking forward to with this matchup against Illinois?
First, I think it'll be a great game. I mean, I know the spread is at, 17.5 in Penn State's favor, but, I mean, if you look at Illinois, I mean, they went into Nebraska, beat Nebraska. I mean, they put 30 points on Nebraska. That's not easy. I mean, Nebraska had one of the top defenses, and they still allow probably about 13 points a game. Like, they're a really good defense, so I think it'll be a really good game. I mean, if you look at Luke Altmaier, I mean, last year, threw 4 picks against Penn State. This year, he's 10-0 right now, 10 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. I mean, I think it'll be a pretty big game, but I do think Penn State comes out on top. But, yeah, I think they do have a lot of different playmakers that will be in or are in Penn State's game plan.
Yeah, I think you brought up the spread. I think it's interesting because I think this is a much better Illinois team than the one that Penn State faced last year. Obviously, they went into Urbana-Champaign and just knocked them out on the road, obviously, but they're returning a lot of their veteran guys, seniors. Obviously, Luke Altmaier struggled last year against Penn State with the 4 interceptions, like you mentioned. But this year, he's 862 yards. Obviously, they're 4-0. He's thrown 10 touchdowns. And they haven't really lost a lot of pieces. Obviously, Jerzon Newton, their defensive tackle who gave Penn State fits last year, is off to the NFL. But I just think that during our game predictions, I have Illinois covering the spread. I really think that line is kind of ridiculous, and Vegas clearly knows something that I don't. Obviously, but then the other part of that is, they've got the night game 7:30 kick with whiteout energy. We'll see what that is. Obviously, you're looking at this, and I'm like, yeah, unofficial whiteout. Everyone's, Franklin's been hinting at this. Jaywan Sider, Phil Troutwine, Nick Dawkins straight up on his X. He was like, wear white. And then we had him on Zoom this week, and he was like, if you've got that blue hoodie, that gray shirt that maybe have a stain on it, or it's in the laundry, and you see that white sweatshirt in your closet, you should go, maybe you throw it on. Like, he's like, I'm not in charge of you, I'm not telling you what to do, but I would recommend it.
Just wise words, that's all.
Yeah, wise words. I mean, Doc, obviously a very charismatic guy,
yeah.
So, he's got some good things to say, but I think it'll be curious. I think that obviously the environment's going to play a huge factor, but you brought it up, though, that they went into Nebraska. In Nebraska, I still think Beaver Stadium's a harder environment, but you could argue that it's in the same caliber, so.
Yeah, I think going off of the crowd, too, I think it's interesting that before the season, there was kind of like the prediction that Illinois was going to be a night game, and it was like, oh, whiteout. And everyone was like, no, like you can't put the whiteout at Illinois, they're trash. Stop making it such a lame matchup. And here we are, week of the game, everyone's like, why isn't this the whiteout? And I just think it's interesting, that kind of turnaround. But also going back to the spread, like you guys mentioned, I think the 17.5 is kind of crazy. I think Penn State hasn't really proved anything yet this season. I mean, we thought they were going to prove something against West Virginia, and they did. But then we come to find out West Virginia is really not that good, honestly. Barely beats Bowling Green.
Did we find out, or were they just never that good? I mean, I'm just saying.
Bowling Green?
Yeah, I mean.
Don't shoot the messenger.
Bowling
West
Green?
Virginia.
Oh, West Virginia.
Yeah.
They were just never that good. But.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. And then Bowling Green, definitely a pleasant surprise for
better than West Virginia.
Hey,
yeah.
Bowling Green almost beat Texas A&M.
I was going to say,
Bowling Green is
they
better than West Virginia.
They went wire
Facts.
to wire with Texas A&M, and then Penn State obviously blows out Kent State. So I think, this is going to be a great game because I think we're going to learn a lot about Penn State. Illinois has a really good secondary, and this is a wide receiver unit that, looks better than last year but hasn't really had that really tough competition to kind of prove themselves against. I think this is a great chance to do that. I mean, we can see how much separation they get. I mean, Franklin said the wide receivers were the most improved position group by far this offseason. So I think we're really going to see how good they actually are. I think it's going to say lots. I think it's also going to say a lot about Penn State's defense, too. I mean, after Bowling Green, everyone was kind of like, red flags were up. People were kind of concerned. I think Luke Altmaier is a lot better than he was last year. He hasn't thrown a pick this year. And with KJ Winston out, Dom DeLuca, we don't really know if he's going to be in the game. I mean, anything could kind of happen. So what are you guys expecting to see from Penn State's offense against this Illinois secondary? Because they've talked a lot about this week how good that secondary is.
Yeah, you got it.
Okay, I mean, I don't think that they're going to completely dominate the Illinois offense or Illinois defense, but at the same time, I do think they will have a good day. I mean, my prediction, I had them scoring 28 points, but I do think one point of concerns, one thing they have to look out for is Xavier Scott. I mean, he's their nickelback. I mean, at Illinois, he's had, 2 picks against Kansas, but a thing I did see, he kind of reminded me of, like, the Trayvon Diggs type of player, the playmaker, but, like, he takes too many gambles because he had 2 picks, but he also got burnt for like 2 touchdowns. So and he played a lot better against Nebraska. So I mean, that could be just a 1-game thing, but I mean, I think that's something they have to look out for. I mean, even in the front, I know they play a 5-man front. I mean, Nick Dawkins talked about it. That's going to cause problems. I mean, it's a lot easier to get pressure, and at the same time, they can kind of mix it up, disguise things. So I do think that they'll have to watch out for that. But I think Andy Kotelnicki is well prepared. I mean, he did play this team last year. I mean, and they did have some big plays, but I mean, Kansas did come out on top. So I do think that Penn State will be able to get the edge on the offensive end.
Yeah, I'm just curious to the wide receivers because obviously this is the first real test, and obviously people have been pleasantly surprised with the Penn State wide receiver room so far, considering all the questions that they had in the offseason. James Franklin even talked about how everyone was, all the media was writing about how there were problems, and now that they're succeeding, they don't get as much love. But obviously they're coming off a game against, obviously, Kent State. But you saw Amari Evans going over for 100 yards, and then obviously Trey Wallace had a couple of catches. But then you saw Julian Fleming going 2 for 60 and a touchdown. Obviously, he just had like 1 catch for, I think, 3 yards through the first 2 games leading up to that. And then Liam Clifford, who hadn't had a catch, went 3 for 64 in his first career touchdown. Obviously, John Clifford threw his first touchdown against Kent State, so there's, something to say there. But it's like, I'm just curious to see. I think the run game's going to find success. I don't really know. Obviously, you can lean on that if you really want to. And then I think, obviously, we've talked about it's hard to game plan. And for Tyler Warren, he's going to find a way to get involved. But I think the Illinois defense, one thing I've kind of noticed is that they struggle with defending explosive plays. And obviously, Penn State is way more improved in that category from last year. And, that's been a large part of their offense. But obviously, when you look at the numbers from what Penn State's done from the explosive play side of things, they're not going against good defenses.
Yeah.
And it's just like, is it going to show up? I don't know. I think it will. Obviously, I've got Penn State winning, I think, by 2 touchdowns. But, I think even if it's not just they're firing on all cylinders right away, you see it click. Because obviously this is a Big Ten play. You've got the under-the-lights atmosphere. They talked about against Bowling Green how they all were nervous just because the first game against Beaver Stadium that year, they wanted to make that play. And you saw a slow start. That was more obviously on the defensive side of the ball. But even if it's a methodical, grinded-out thing as to finding the rhythm, I don't think that's a bad look on the offense.
I also think it's interesting you mentioned the slow start. Last week, Penn State did have a slow start. Only put up 7 points against Kent State in the first quarter. I mean, fans on X were kind of like, this team's not what we thought they were, and then they proceed to put up 56.
Do an interception, just throw that in, but
yeah, for sure.
That too. That didn't help for sure. But yeah, so I honestly think, I'm going to disagree with you a lot. I think they need to...
Ouch.
Sorry.
I know ball.
I think they need to start getting production from the wide receivers in the first quarter, because then I think it's going to open up a lot of things. Like, if the wide receivers just can't do anything, and then they just start trying to, hone in on the ground game, I think they're still going to find success, and they're still going to win. But I think if fans want to see that dominant victory, they're going to need to get play from the wide receivers, kind of right away. I see you look so upset that I just
I wasn't saying that the wide receivers. I was just talking about the offense in general.
The offense. Okay.
Also, I'm pretty sure Trey Potts threw a passing touchdown against Illinois last year.
Okay, but this is a different Illinois team.
What did Franklin say in media?
You're right. It's a different team, but I just think
throw that film away.
I just think. Actually, basically all I did there was try to figure out a reason to bring up Trey Potts. So that's actually all that I was really doing there.
Right.
But it's just you can find ways to win the game.
Yeah, 100%.
It's just I don't really think it fully revolves around the success around the wide receivers, but I think they've got something to prove.
I do too. And I also think the defense is going to find success this week too. I also think Altmaier's going to throw his first pick this week. I think low-key Zakee Wheatley.
Pencil it in?
Okay, Zakee Wheatley. I was going to say
I'm
who the
penciling
prediction
it
was.
in. That's I think he's going to throw his first pick this week. I honestly just think the atmosphere is just going to be too much for the Illinois defense or offense. My bad. But yeah, I think the atmosphere is going to be too much for the Illinois offense. But let's log some official score predictions, and we've kind of flirted around it. I have Penn State winning 21-17. I think it's just going to be kind of a defensive battle with Penn State's offense kind of struggling with that Illinois secondary, but the ground game still doing well, and Illinois' offense just not being able to handle the crowd, and Penn State defense kind of stepping up to the occasion. So what do you guys have?
I got Penn State 34-20, winning, that is. 2 touchdowns. I got Illinois. Obviously, Illinois covers the spread. I think they can hang around for a good portion of the game, but I think Penn State's going to find a way to find some separation and like put the foot on the gas as the game goes towards the final clock.
Okay,
yeah, I mean, I have Penn State winning 28-24, as I kind of mentioned. I mean, I think it'll be a battle. I think it'll really come down to a game-winning touchdown. I mean, as a spectator, as a reporter, it might be wishful thinking, but I do think that it'll be, a game that comes down to the wire. I mean, I think Illinois can handle it. They're 4 games in the season. They've played 2 ranked opponents. Of course, they went into Nebraska, beat Dylan Raiola. I mean, I think they're ready, so I think obviously it'll affect them. It's the whiteout. It's still different.
Whoa. Whiteout energy.
Energy, sorry. Nobody sue me. Nobody sue me. Please. Please. You see me? Do not sue me. Okay. But anyways, I mean, yeah, I think that the whiteout energy will help Penn State, but I don't think it'll get them to the point where that's the reason they win the game. I mean, I do think Illinois has some players. I mean, even looking at the offensive side with Pat Bryant, I mean, he has 6 touchdowns. He had 3 games where he had 2 touchdowns in each game. Like, that's ridiculous numbers. I mean, he's all over the field. I think that that's something they have to watch out for. So I do think Illinois is going to hang in for a while, but I think Penn State comes through, game-winning drive, and, move on to, 5-0, 4-0.
All right. You heard it here first. We all think Penn State's winning, so we'll see if that actually happens. But, those are our predictions. I kind of want to go back to talking about the linebackers. I mentioned Dom DeLuca. We don't really know if he's going to play. Franklin didn't have an update yesterday at practice, but he said Anthony Specca, true freshman, would get the green light for this game if DeLuca cannot go. Specca got a lot of playing time against Kent State. I think led the team in tackles. So do you guys kind of trust Specca if he's kind of thrown into that role against a top 20 team in the country to help that Penn State linebacker room?
I think in a situational off the bench role, yes. Obviously, you just talked about it. He led the team in total tackles last week with 5. But this is a guy that they were really high on coming in, obviously from Pittsburgh Central Catholic, which James threw in a pretty nice little recruiting pitch right into the cameras yesterday, saying they need more guys. Obviously, they got Peter Gonzalez, but this is a guy that came to Penn State that Chuck Losey talked about in the summer, who is physically developed ahead of the curve. And they've been pretty high on him. This is a guy that's got leadership qualities that they said could be a captain in the near future. And I just was impressed with how he played. Obviously, he played meaningful snaps. Granted, it was Kent State, not strongest team. But Kobe King yesterday talked about how he's the only guy who's playing all 3 linebacker spots. So I think that's impressive, especially for a freshman, just to get thrown in the mix playing. He can man the mic. He's playing on the outside. So I just think that's impressive because I don't think you really need him to play a huge role, considering if the game's within 2 touchdowns, you're going to see Kobe King, Tony Rojas on the field. Obviously, Tyler Elzin's a veteran. But I think if you sprinkle in Specco with Tamir Robinson, who we saw come back from injury, who played pretty well, and then we saw our first good look at Dakari Nelson going from safety and linebacker. I think if you got those 3 guys rotating in, I think Elzin obviously is going to be the primary guy off the bench, assuming DeLuca can't go. I wouldn't be shocked to see him play. I mean, if DeLuca's injury is long-term, then it's a matter of how much do you really think he can contribute to the team for this season, because you have to remember he's obviously played 1 game. You need 4. If you play 4 games, you got to burn the red shirt. So I just think that's always something you got to think about in the back of your mind.
Yeah, I mean, I think I agree. I think I don't trust him to be okay, this guy that's going to play 100% of the snaps, but I do think that he can be 50%. I mean, again, as Kobe King said, he's playing all 3 positions. He kind of knows how to do everything. He's grown. He's taken a big leap since he's gotten on campus, and I think that's really going to help him. I mean, he had a good game against Kent State. It is just Kent State, but just getting that experience, getting that first game out the way, and it being a good game is going to help any freshman. And I think that doesn't really matter what team, of course, they're also not playing Ohio State. Illinois is a good team. Have a 4-point game. Of course, they're a good team, but it's not an Ohio State. It's not a team that he should be, peeing down his leg or anything like that. So I do think that, he can play a major role on Saturday and, just do his job. That's all he has to do.
Yeah, I think playing all 3 spots is a big thing. I think versatility is just honestly the biggest thing you can have, especially as a freshman. When they need you to step up, you can fill in anywhere. I think that's going to be big going forward. I don't really foresee a world in which Specca gets the full green light, burns that red shirt. I honestly think he might just play this game, and hopefully for Penn State, DeLuca's injury isn't long-term, and then they kind of have some wiggle room to definitely redshirt Specca. But yeah, definitely, if DeLuca can't go, we'll definitely see Specca a little bit on Saturday. All right, kind of pivoting really far off. The 1994 team is going to be in town this weekend. They're going to get honored at the Illinois game. Nick Dawkins, Drew Aller, Liam Clifford all talked about them at media this week. And I think it was just really interesting to hear from them about like a team that they weren't even alive to see. And I think Dawkins said a lot of things that kind of just like really sparked my interest because I think college football has changed so much since 1994, obviously. We have the playoff now, NIL deals, everything like that. I think it was just interesting to hear Dawkins say that every time they go on the field, like they're trying to live up to that legacy, to play that hard in the trenches football. So what did you guys just kind of, what like stuck out to you listening to the players who were born in the 2000s talk about a team from the 1990s?
I mean, I think for me, something that stuck out to me was like, I mean, different players kind of had different perspectives. I mean, you can tell some of the guys that are more immersed with the team, whether it's because they're from the area. Of course, like Drew Allen's from Ohio. I know we all kind of saw a little tweet about him not really knowing as much about them except for the fact that they won games, stuff like that. Like, he's from Ohio, Medina, Ohio. He didn't really grow up in that. I mean, Nick Dawkins, he's a Philly kid. I mean, it makes more sense. And, of course, he's obviously in the books more. I mean, I know we even saw, like, with Landon Taywall, obviously a retired offensive lineman, he was talking about on Twitter how they don't really learn that much about the old teams, but it's important because, of course, there's a lot of history with the Penn State program, like dating all the way back to the start of Paterno and even before that with Rip Engel. So, I mean, I think that it was interesting just to see just where everyone kind of was at with that. And, I mean, of course, Franklin heard some good suggestions about just how to teach them 94 ball, honestly. That's what it was. They need to learn 94 ball, so.
Yeah, obviously you had guys on that team like Kerry Collins, Joe Brady, you had Keyjana Carter, who when Nick Singleton had that big Rose Bowl performance in 2022, obviously he broke off those big runs that I think were just the longest runs in Penn State history alongside with Keyjana, and then obviously Saquon, and then he was asked about it after the game, just like, did anybody ever like bring up Keyjana? He was like, oh yeah, absolutely. He's like, they told me like I looked like him, stuff along that lines. So I just, you got some people that don't really know what's going on with this team. None of us were born when this team was, doing its thing.
Whoa now. I know Keyjana.
No, we weren't alive in 1994.
And what that mean?
No,
I was there at the game.
You're right.
I was watching in spirit.
Avery was actually there playing.
Yeah, I was watching in spirit.
Yeah, but I think that's a cool, obviously moment. Obviously, they're gonna bring some juice. I think, Doc talked about just playing to the standard of representing what Penn State football is about, and he stressed how that's one of those teams that did just that. So I think that's going to be a cool, moment for them. Obviously, the 94 team as well, just to go back. Franklin talked about how he's hoping to see some guys that he hasn't even seen from that team. So I think it'll be a cool moment. Obviously, that'll probably bring some fire to the team. Got to look good in front of the players that play before you. So
yeah, I think it's interesting. That's I think it is the last Penn State team to go undefeated. And I think it's the last team to even be in contention for a national championship. And I think a lot of fans hold the teams recently to that standard, especially with all the talent they've been bringing in. So I think it's just kind of interesting to hear them talk about a team like that when they're kind of being held to that standard pretty much every day. And yeah, so I just thought it was interesting to hear from the players, like you said, about, the standard that the 1994 team kind of set for them, the legacy they've kind of carried on. But yeah, if we want to talk about college football changing, though, there's been some controversy. This has nothing to do with Penn State whatsoever. I mean, it could in the future, but we saw some.
Probably will.
We saw some
Soon.
University of Las Vegas guys. I forget what's the quarterback's name.
Luke. That's all he just gets Luke because.
He's just
Come
Luke.
on, man. Why are we quitting on our team? Why are we quitting on our
Luke
team?
basically quit on Las Vegas.
Skula. But yeah.
what?
Skula. Luke Skula, right?
His last name's Skula?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
The fact that I haven't heard about him, I'm just saying,
Yeah.
like, I know UNLV is doing their thing, but the fact that I have not heard about him shows why he didn't deserve the money.
Yeah.
He
Well,
didn't deserve
basically,
it.
Las Vegas apparently promised him $100K in NIL money. He did not get that, and he decided to sit out the rest of the year, get his red shirt after Las Vegas was off to a pretty hot start, and then their second
Top 30 team.
their second string running back followed suit, and then USC defensive tackle
Bear Alexander.
Yep, also decided
One of
to
those
sit in
guys.
red shirt.
Yeah.
So what are your guys' kind of thoughts on the way college football is heading in that direction? Because, I mean, this is something we have never seen before. It's just really showing how much NIL really means to these guys now.
So with my guy Luke, obviously he was
Your guy, huh?
he's-
Put your name on the line for
yeah,
him?
something like that.
Okay.
But yeah, no, actually not my guy.
And the
So-
running back did
Yeah, he's out.
got out of there.
Yeah, so I saw somewhere, obviously, he was promised $100K. He was given 3. But I saw somewhere that was just, like, not true. But how, like, his like, team, his camp, whatever, they saw his, like, NIL value was, like, rising based on how he was performing in his team or something. So, and then I don't even know. UNLV just didn't want to give him the money. But I just think it's ridiculous quitting on your team. I feel like if you're going to make a deal in NIL, I think it's a bad look on both sides, honestly, because if you're going to sign that pen to paper, make an NIL deal, that should be taken care of. Like, why are you, like, mid-season, you're 3-0, you're quitting on a team you committed to, but it's like, why is that your focus? I don't know. But it's just, I think it's just, this is how college football is going to be.
Yeah, and like, why would you transfer if they promise you money, but they never actually give you pen and paper contract?
My
It's
thing
like,
is, like, I'm
feel
sorry, but I don't believe that. I just don't believe that they offered him that because he came from Holy Cross. I don't
that was my other
believe
thing.
That they offered him $100K from Holy Cross.
Yeah.
He
Holy
wasn't
Cross
that
almost
good.
be-
If I haven't heard of him, then he couldn't have been that good to get $100K from UNLV out of all schools.
Holy Cross
Come on.
almost beat Boston College last year.
And
And Boston College is a pretty good team right now. So
right now.
right
now.
now,
What were they last year?
Lyle.
They were
You know
on the
they
call.
have a new head coach,
They were
right?
on the call. Yeah, Bill O'Brien, Penn State.
I wonder why.
Penn State always comes back, right?
Yeah,
but Bear Alex, like obviously the UNLV, like it's just like I don't really know if a team's gonna want you after that. Like
Yeah.
straight up, like
That-
why?
yeah.
If you're worried, so that's self-conscious about NFL, not NFL. Whoa, NIL. Like
You'd be conscious about the NFL.
this is the whole
but
like it's not like Jaden. This is reminding me of the whole Jaden Rashada thing. Like it's a little different, but
I
it's
think
like
I think it's different.
yeah, but it's just like all these. When I say that, I mean I'm talking about just the NIL issues itself. Like figure it out. Like obviously you've got programs that have this kind of money that can do it, and you have programs that are struggling with it. But if you have those kind of resources, like use them, you know. And then the whole Bear Alexander thing, like I did not think that guy was going back to USC in the beginning of the season because he entered the portal. Obviously, originally he played for Georgia, transferred there last year, entered again, went back, and apparently Lincoln Riley was like asked about like the whole Bear Alexander situation, whatever, because apparently he's like happy, and his dad's going on Twitter and he's posting clips of like the efficiency of the defensive line of like what he's doing at him. So
It's
I don't
always
know.
the dads.
Yeah, it's
It
just
is
like
always the
it's just one of those things.
Dads, uncles.
Bear Alexander also had Penn State in his finalists when he was a recruit. So
Yeah.
you know, if we're gonna put the little local angle on that, that's something. To
Are
think
they
about.
giving him the money that
But
USC didn't
Penn
give
State
him?
Penn State does not have that kind of money.
I don't
No.
think they have US. And I think my problem is real quick. I think my problem is like I don't think the players, or if they aren't, then I don't know why they aren't. But like I don't think they're thinking about the future. I think they're thinking about the now, which is like for me, if I'm a scout, if I'm an NFL coach, I'm like, okay, I think players should be paid. I'll make that clear. I think they should be paid. I think they should be paid a lot. But I think if that becomes your only focus to the point where you're 3 games into the season, because how do you get to the point where you're 3, 4, 5 games into the season and now it's like, okay, money is an issue. That's why I believe the rumor about them, coming back, him getting an agent and then be like, oh yeah, he should get more. I don't think you go through summer, you go through camp, and you go through 3 games, then you're finally like, oh, I want more money. So yeah, I just think it's kind of distasteful when you look at most of them are trying to go to the NFL. I guess some of them now they just want to run up a bag. They know they're not going to the NFL, but Bear is going to the NFL. So I'm like, if it's all about money, if I'm a NFL scout, it's going to be like, okay, cool. We're going to have you for 3 years. You're going to have a contract dispute, and you're going to be out of here. Why am I going to draft you? It's pointless.
Yeah, like I said, I really think it's just it shows how much college football's changed. I mean, Saquon Barkley said he came back to Penn State for Penn State's pro day, and went in the locker room, talked to everyone. He just said it just felt different. It feels like now it's a business, not a college program.
It's no aura.
There's no aura. There it
There's
is.
no aura. But yeah, I honestly think like NIL is truly changing. Let's go with college football. Like you said, Avery, the players deserve to be paid. I mean, their names are being plastered everywhere.
Yeah, for sure.
They 100% deserve to be paid. They're putting in a lot of work, a lot of effort to be here. But it's just kind of crazy. I mean, I don't think I ever expected guys just to straight up quit just because.
As the quarterback too.
As the quarterback.
The quarterback.
Especially,
I don't know when you ranked at one point.
Yeah.
especially
I want to play. Like what?
Like some people had UNLV projected in like the 12-team playoff.
I did.
And
I had them being like a 4 seed. Any seed that would make them play Penn State at UNLV, that's what I had them. Just saying. No bias there. Nothing about me wanting to report in Las Vegas at all.
Of
Nothing like
course.
that.
Yeah,
Nothing.
sure.
No.
No,
Just good
nothing.
football. Just good football.
Just good football.
Great
Yeah.
football even.
Great, yeah. But so I think it's just kind of crazy. You have a good team, a potential playoff team. You're just like, I want money, nah, like I'm out. And then, like you said, Avery, you transferred from Holy Cross. It's not like this guy was at Georgia and was like, let me go try to build up UNLV, take them to the playoff. Like, it's just truly baffling. And I honestly, I just think the college football landscape has just kind of changed forever. I mean, I think we're going to start seeing this more and more
Yeah, he might as well
So-
go back down into FCS. Go to Georgetown at this point. Go to Georgetown.
Georgetown's crazy.
Georgetown's a
They got the
wagon.
money. They got the money, but I don't know if they're gonna spend it on football. But they got the money.
They have the
Big
money.
East football. I know Big East is a conference, but Big East football.
Big East football. You know,
Big East
there's
football.
Georgetown Stadium is like the tiny, like it's smaller than like my high school
Yeah,
stadium.
it's kind of crazy. I remember I played it. I was like, this is.
Oh
okay.
yeah, no,
Yeah, it's college.
because I go to Georgetown a good amount.
interesting.
When I'm at home. I love Georgetown.
DMV.
And,
Yeah.
you know,
DMV, baby.
DMV.
Georgetown food, yeah.
Georgetown
yeah.
food.
There's a pizza spot. I'm not giving it up. Though. I'm not.
Wait, I had the best
I
pizza I've
gatekeep.
ever had in
I
Georgetown.
gatekeep, but I have a really good pizza spot over there. I'm not telling y'all, so don't come to me, Avery. What's the pizza spot in Georgetown? Not giving it to you. Sorry. Been going there since I was in 8th grade.
Since
Me, my
8th
mom, my
grade.
cousin. We sitting there. Lord have mercy.
All right. Thank you everyone for watching. For more football content, you can head to psucollegian.com or follow us on socials.
And I get my pizza spot. See ya.